D? Yeah, what's up, man? They go that girl they call Roxanne. She's all stuck up. Why you say that? Cause you wouldn't give a guy like me no rap. And she was walking down the street, so I said, hello, can't go from your TFO. And she so, I said, so, baby, don't you know I can sing, rap, dance in just one show. Cause can't go, Mr. Sophisticator. As far as I know, ain't nobody greater from beginning to end and to beginning. I never used because I'm all about winning, but if I was to lose, I wouldn't be upset. Cause I'm not a gambler, I don't bet, I don't leave in no casino.
Zero. What's up, everybody? Welcome out to another Boom Bap Breakfast right here at Black Power Media. This is the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and your host for today is Dr. Jared Brown. Burn it down, Kim Brown. I said Dr. Jared Ball. Burn it down, Kim Brown. Come on, K. Franklin. And Kalonji Jamachanga, let's go.
Yo, is it me or did he fuck up 4 of our names?
Yeah, but my thing is, if you're gonna come in with UTFO, I don't need you to get my name right. We'll figure it out. I'm good. I appreciate that.
Hey, yo, listen, man.
I didn't even know you
doing
could
a lot
slur.
this morning.
I didn't even know you could slur ball. Like I didn't even know that. Like, you could even slur that joint. Good job.
Wow.
Come on, K. Franklin. He changed his old name.
You.
Kalonji Jamachanga. What the fuck?
This is the Ear Doctor. This is what I do.
The Ear Doctor's deaf.
Everybody could get it.
Everybody can get it.
Even fans in the stands.
Hey, but shout out to UTFO, because you can't, without UTFO, you wouldn't have Roxanne Shante. Without Roxanne Shante, you wouldn't have the Bismarck. You know what I mean? So we got a long legacy of hip hop coming out of UTFO. What up?
I mean, it launched one of the earliest and most impactful battles in hip hop history. I mean, it did all. I mean, it launched careers. I mean, it
real Roxanne, Sparky D. You know what I'm saying? A lot came from that one group. Educated rappers.
Was UTFO the original singers and rappers? You know what I mean? Rappers.
Nah, I think it was probably Force MDs, because before that they were the Force MCs. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
They started off rapping and then singing and whatnot. So
I don't even know Force MDs as rappers. All I know is Tender Love. Here I lay all alone.
And it's crazy. Most of them are ancestors. Shout out to Force MCs, and definitely Sequence with BNGB as Angie B, the singer, who's also a rapper. But yeah, those were the early joints, man.
Yeah, I just don't know. I never remember the order. And when did Houdini get in there?
Houdini was before those guys. And well, Houdini
at the same time, right?
Was really early,
right?
Well, Houdini was like 80. I think they started in like 83 and then came out like 86 or something like that.
Houdini was first because UTFO was dancing for Houdini.
There you go.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Thank you.
Shout out to my man Jalil from Houdini out here in Atlanta.
Wait a minute. Tell him to come back again. I got another question. Yeah, doctor, pop back in. So wait a minute, but didn't Roxanne come out before anything Houdini did?
No.
That was
Matter of fact,
really early.
Houdini was the first international hip hop group, and I'm not sure if they was the first to go platinum or what, but I know that they were the first group to really rock internationally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And of course, they were singing in it too. That's what I also was thinking about. They had singing in their hooks and stuff. So
singing and rapping.
But I just remember. I just never remember a moment where I did not know of any of them. So I just don't remember the ordering. It's just they've always
definitely Houdini first.
Well, stick around. We're gonna have a show that's dedicated to giving you hip hop history.
True.
And clearly, we still need refreshers. At least some of us, because I can't
get no work.
Speaking of that, Minister Server hit me yesterday. His show should be launching around September 5th.
Good to hear it. Good news.
Yeah.
He can't take that Fat Albert cheer away from me. Bill Cosby. I'm still
Fat Albert cheer. Okay.
You know, with the Cosby kids and when they was moving their arms like this. Yeah.
I keep forgetting that Cosby free, man. That's I really keep forgetting that.
I'm with Kim on that. Ugh.
Yeah, me too. But anyway,
But again, it's one of those contradictions with the abolition of the prisons. I'm not with the prisons.
Speaking of
all that,
abolition,
but I'm not with him.
Just
running
watch
around
your
either.
drinks around Bill Cosby, everybody. Don't let Bill
There's gotta
Cosby buy you
just
no
be-
drink at the bar.
no Jello pudding pops for me. Anyway,
There's got to be a place, even if you don't call it prison, that people need a timeout at.
Yeah.
We can call it something.
A
else.
timeout.
It might be a
We're gonna
timeout. When you shoot a couple of people, going a little spree, you might need a little timeout from general society.
yeah. Well, speaking of political prisoners, prisoners. Today is the day we commemorate the assassination of Hugo Yogi Purnell. He was murdered inside the prison. He's one of the San Quentin Six. Did damn near 50 years or 50 years, 51, somewhere around there, and ended up being murdered in 2015. So about 6 years ago, he was shanked up. So we remember Hugo Yogi Purnell on this day right here, who was also one of the longest held political prisoners during his time. Young Panamanian brother from the San Quentin Six. San Quentin Six, of course, was one of the folks who were accused of taking the prison guards out after the assassination of George Jackson.
It wasn't Venezuela. Why do I think Venezuela?
You know what?
I might be wrong.
One of us might be wrong, but I gotta look that up. I feel bad.
That's a good rule of thumb here on the Remix Morning Show. One of us might be wrong.
One of us might be wrong. Oh, you know what? We both was wrong. We both suck. What did you
the
say?
Chat say?
What did you say? Nah,
I said Venezuela.
It was Nicaragua. We suck.
Okay.
Yeah. So here at the Remix Morning Show, four of us might be wrong. Two of us are smart enough not to say anything.
Y'all need a fact checker. We need a Jean-Vieve here. Jean-Vieve, I ask Jean-Vieve all the time during the show. Jean-Vieve, do some Googles for me real quick, just to make sure that I'm saying the correct thing up here. We need Jean-Vieve.
We conscribe the whole chat that I don't look at, right, but I know is helpful.
But the most important thing about that situation is that even him being from Nicaragua, he was a freedom fighter fighting on behalf of Africans here in America, and he understood that he was a black man. So we ended with that. How about that?
And we have some great interviews about him at imixwhatilike.org. I do want to shout that out, in where it's even been discussed that obviously, well, not obviously, but his killing in 2015, I think you said,
yes,
was, there was no accident in terms of him, because I think he was on his way to being paroled, if I'm not mistaken. They were considering letting him out.
Yeah,
is that not correct?
I'm not.
But
I'm
the point
not
is
that. Yeah,
I might be confusing it with the Larry Davis story, but the point is that nobody was forgiving or forgetting, and that no matter how much time he had done or how old he had gotten, he still represented a history and a threat that needed to be addressed, as often the state likes to do it. So we have a story about this in the news regarding the history of Black August and some more commemoration. And even some more on that, but anyway.
But what's crazy that particular year, 2015, that was on the 12th, a lot went on with Black Panther members during that particular week. You know what I'm saying? That was a situation with the whole thing with Ruben and I, and then a few days later, Hugo was assassinated.
Oh wow, right.
You know what I mean? So that was like one hellified week. You know what I'm saying? So
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. But rising power to Hugo Yogi Purnell. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Warriors.
On a happier note, today is Khalib's, my son's 6th birthday.
Hey, happy
birthday! That's a good thing. Yeah, like
happy
Black August baby. Black August baby. You know what I'm saying?
Young Leo King out here. Love him. Love it.
And clearly you've raised a little soldier who can withstand a lot, given the way we know you drop him off at school in these mornings.
There was a little bruise, but I was like,
you know what I'm saying?
Like, I was like, just rub it, get out.
I think he's been watching some of Balagoon's clips because he falls properly. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So he's good. You know what I'm saying? So
he gave me
shout out to
I was like,
Khalib. He's 6 today?
6 today. He's 6.
This dude's getting old. I know he's talking mad trash. Like, yeah, this ain't the cake I asked for.
You think not? You think not?
Be like, we fasting with Black August. It's my birthday, fool.
Ain't no fasting today. Ain't no fasting.
There's no fast.
We going slow.
6-year-olds not trying to hear about a fast.
No, not at all.
So, but them chicken tenders pops.
Speaking of
barbecue sauce
today, bye.
Yes,
I do want to just quickly announce like a little bit of some, also along with some improving news in terms of Katia Stitz support. The numbers are getting a little better, but we want to encourage people to continue to do that. She is also a good parent, as is Kamau, and has been raising, doing a great job with her daughter and family. So, as is Kamau, of course. So just another tie in there. And Katia, again, I just want to quickly say, represents all those who go unnamed in these struggles. We want to just continue to support her. She's not quite where she needs to be with her goal for her medical support. But anyway, so I'm going to drop the link in the chat again and continue to ask that people support her as we continue to support all of those who we can, again, those who don't get the attention in the name. So anyway, thank you all for letting me continue to do that and work that in.
You know what I like about that number,
those
though?
who are supporting. Yeah, what's
this
up?
Time last week when we was shutting down, I think it was at like 7,000 something.
That's right.
We said we were hoping, we were confident that it'd be at 10 by Monday.
That's right. You did. That's right.
So now it's at 17. So a week later, it's 10,000 more. So since that goal has been met and it's at 17 right now, I'm confident that it can get to 20 by this time next week. So that's the goal.
Absolutely.
Remixers put it out there. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Let's
all.
go for that 20 for this next week.
Right on. And by the way, speaking of numbers too, and some good news, please everybody check the Twitters and the IGs for the recently dropped YouTube stats for BPM last month. Shout out to everybody helping us hit some of these numbers. Obviously, I didn't think I had to have it pulled up myself, but maybe we can drop back into that in a little bit. But anyway, it just occurred to me that we had some good interactions. I believe it's something like 70 some million views or something like that. It was like we doing, I don't know, seems like big numbers to me, and I appreciate what everybody,
Are these is this the equivalent of like gold and platinum plaques for YouTube creators?
I don't know,
Not yet.
I don't know. Yeah, not quite maybe that, but for us, for me at least, and look, because I know we talk a lot about grassroots organizing, and for those of us who are fortunately are not accustomed to a lot of just smally packed rooms, you know what I mean? Like a lot of spaces that don't have a lot of people in them. I mean, I appreciate the numbers we get, because I've been more than happy to be in rooms where you get 20, 30 people. You like, man, we can do some work.
Right, we rocking out at 100 right now. So I mean, when you factor in the subscriptions and then the views and then the minutes watched and the impressions.
So I was a little off. Sorry about that. I was a little off. We had 1.6 million minutes watched, 78,000 total views, and 739 new subscribers this last month. So,
but guess what though? On top of that, it's not quite 6 months. It's not quite 6 months that BPM has been in existence. So Black Power Media on the 17th of this month would be our 6th month in existence. In fact, the Remix Morning Show, we're at like 3 months or something like that. So we're not doing so bad. So definitely shout out to all the remixes and BPM supporters, affiliates, and all that. The shout outs, the text messages, the retweets, all that. We appreciate that because of the fact that you are our marketing and promotions arm. And with that in mind, speaking of arm, we gotta go to the techniques.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. The 1200s and call on the ear doctor. Ain't no telling what he got going.
Hey, yo, you remember in Good Times when they had that one pose like?
Yeah.
Yeah, that looked just like you. Do that one more time, yo.
Yeah, he hit it. That's it.
And everybody know what he's talking about.
Hey, yo, I just had to rock with the Fat Album. It's one of my favorite shows, I must say.
Absolutely.
But I'm about to give you a sample real quick, so get your thinking hat on and figure out what this sample is coming from. Let's get it.
Let's get it.
It's Clyde Albert, and I'm gonna sing a song for you.
Yeah. Welcome out, everybody, to another Boom Bap Breakfast right here on the Remix Morning Show, Black Power Media. Make sure you hit that like button. Come on, hit that like button. Subscribe, follow, join. Go to patreon.com. Drop some change for Black Power Media right here so we can keep this thing going. All right. So, you know what time it is? It's time to give you that sample. So, I was like, where shall we go today for a sample? Let's make it a little bit easy today. You know, sometimes I come with some heat. This time I'm still coming with some heat, but I'm going to do it like this. So our first sample today comes from no other than... Oh, did I hit that right? Here we go. Barry White sings songs for someone you love.
When we met,
1977.
what you had in store was ever only me. Surely you know you took me by surprise. When I turned and looked, I saw that message in your eye.
All right. So that's what it is. Barry White. That's what I said. Barry White sings for Someone You Love. Came out in 1977. And we have our people in the chat room that came up with it real quick. And let's see who was the first one to come up with it. It looks like we'll go with Marvin Walker. Big up to Marvin Walker. Yes. The name of the song, though, is You Bring Me Joy. This came out in 1994 with no other than Mary J. Blige off of My Life album. Yeah. You right. So as you can see with that mix right there and that sample right there, you can see it had that disco flair because you can look back and see that Barry White song was played in the disco also. So Diddy knew what he was doing. He's like, let's make this disco music so people could dance to it, sample it, redo it to some hip hop soul. And that's what it was. Let's get back to the Remix Morning Show, y'all. Nah, we do. Yeah.
Hey, along with that, I want to say Rising Power Chucky Thompson, who produced that song, Bring Me Joy. You know what I'm saying? Who just made his transition a few days ago. Y'all really got to check into Chucky Thompson's catalog. He's produced things from down there. Everybody on Bad Boy to Moo Moo Fresh. So dig into it.
Get it.
Absolutely.
I even think Chucky was actually playing the bass. I actually think he replayed that bass. Anyway, rest in peace to Chucky Thompson. I had an opportunity to interview him years ago in his studios in outside of DC. And he was actually, I need to find the tape, but he was replaying that bass line and just kind of giving me an insight as to his total contribution to Mary's project specifically. But I mean, he was very instrumental in crafting that early Bad Boy sound. So definitely rest in peace to Chucky Thompson.
Yeah. Big up to all the remixes out there that's on it.
What'd you say?
I was saying Kim Lost Tape. Oh, my bad.
Oh, my Lost Tape, dog. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm gonna shut up. Go ahead.
Now, I was just saying, big up to all the remixers that's out there in the comment section, guessing these. Big up. Take y'all next break.
Yes, indeed. Congratulations. And I was listening to Barry White, man. Rest in power to him too. Do we have male singers with bass in their voice like that anymore?
No.
Like where is the bass in the voice like was Johnny Gill the last one? Like what? Seriously, I don't know. Where's is that just a loss? Do we not care about?
I mean, you got Anthony Hamilton. We count Anthony
bass
Hamilton.
in his voice.
Well, not really bass, but I mean,
he can sing. I love Anthony Hamilton. Don't get it twisted. But
okay.
I mean, bass in his voice.
It's like every time you keep saying bass in your voice, Jared, I keep hearing The Weeknd in the opposite direction, right? I mean, and he don't even have like a good falsetto. Like his falsetto is garbage. So I know I can't think of any baritones out here.
Yo, I think we need. That's why we need Mama's Biscuit. That's all I'm saying.
I'm trying to tell you, my man Jeff on the keys and the vocals on Mama's Biscuits I'm telling you, man, we nice, man. We were nice.
I think y'all should get Kamal.
During what time period was it again?
Best funk band in Western Maryland between 1997 and 1999.
That was over 20 years ago, wasn't it? It was like 22 years ago. Okay, cool.
It's getting in that rear view.
And I'm you know, in a separate conversation, Jared, I am curious as to kind of crowds y'all were drawing out there in Western Maryland, because, ladies and gentlemen, if y'all not familiar with Western Maryland, it resembles Klan country very closely.
So at
who's coming out to see Jared Ball and Mama's Biscuits in Western Maryland? I'm curious.
Do we want to describe it as a crowd? I mean, that's the question. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, he did say if they got 30 people in the audience, then it was good.
I was talking about organizing.
Biscuit
was packing them 150, 200, bar room. No, honestly, in Frostburg State, there was a beautifully small, but I would think somewhat unified Black community.
Frostburg State is the name of it.
But most of our crowds were white heavy. With
I mean, it's called Frostburg, man. I mean, it's like it's not a.
I mean, because we had I mean, that was really but we did Black events, we did but it was. And we were a mixed race band too. We had white boys in the band. We attempted to be an all Black band and couldn't do it.
He needed one guitar player or something. It was like
we just didn't have enough. We didn't have enough people who played. I mean, it was it is what it was. But it was great, and we were the best.
I'm just glad they let y'all stand on stage together, man. That was real progressive.
We killed it. I mean, it was like you know what it was? It was a Generation X oh man, Sly and the Family Stone. That's what it was.
Hey Jared, did you have a blonde wig? I'm just asking.
Man, I had my hair. I was.
You compared yourself to Sly and the Family Stone.
I'm trying to tell you, and we covered their music.
No, you misunderstood what he said.
Unflinchingly, he did.
No, he twisted.
Bold.
No, I understand what he said.
And Slide the Family Stone. That's what, you know what I mean? Like we were fighting.
That's not what he said. Come on, he didn't say that. He said I was high and the family was stoned. That's what he said. So listen, you misunderstood the man. Respect that man.
My bad.
Limp Biscuit. Mama Biscuit. My bad.
Wet biscuit.
Why is the doctor telling me I need to relax? I'm proud of it. What is that?
He's reminiscing.
I get amped about the Mama's Biscuits.
Yeah, that look in your eye, man. Look, man, we need to go to the Globe. This is out of hand, man. Where that Globe at? Let's get up out of Limp.
Yeah. I'm just laughing at the comments, y'all. Yo, Rise Elbow got the right intentions here, Jared. We need to see some of this footage from Mama's Biscuits. I need to see some video evidence. I need to see what Mama's Biscuits was out here doing. So dust off some of them VHS tapes you got there, sir, and get them joints converted so we
Beta tapes. Beta max.
Tuned, good people. Stay tuned. You in for a treat. We working on that.
Right from Frostburg.
Can Black Power
Family
Media,
Stone.
Can Black Power Media do the documentary about Mama's Biscuits? I mean,
it needs to be done. In all honesty, I tell you the truth. We over the pandemic, we did have some virtual meetings because I do want to tell that story. I was trying to develop a podcast. I'm trying to.
Y'all all are still alive. All of you guys are alive. I just want to make sure.
Stop it, Kamau. Stop. That's enough.
Jared had to think about it. And look at Jared.
I did. We had a big group. We had a big group.
Sell us and convince us on this project. And this is not going to be a Black Power Media project because, first of all, y'all was like, you just described the Village People, bro. So we not about to.
Hold up now.
That's enough. That's enough. Stop the fight. Don't get off of Jared. Get off of Jared.
There's always
right
somebody
now.
that goes too far.
Come on. Club. Anyway.
Now he went.
Club. Anyway, back to.
All right, we're all gonna get back.
Business.
We will return to the Summer Jam screen later.
Mama's Biscuit, baby.
But for now,
hold up, Jared. Somebody in the chat called y'all interracial Wu-Tang Wild.
Hey, don't start Jared on the chat, man. Chill.
Enjoy yourselves. I'm sure there's a lot of greatness going on out there. Enjoy
First time
yourselves.
with the guest on, you'll be like a secret little Jared. Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
We will. No. We will. The footage is coming, and everybody is gonna. I'm telling you, just stay tuned. That's all. Just stay tuned and enjoy yourselves in the chat, everybody. Have a good morning.
We with you, brother. Come on, let's bring it.
What's our first news story?
Well, Kim had told us that she's got a coon surprise for us.
Ooh,
so I don't know if we want to hold that or if we want to tease that to the end or start there. Kim
I'm trying to decide here, y'all, because I mean, this is it. When I say it is elite level cooning. This is peak cooning. This is delicious and disgusting cooning all at the same time. So, okay, we can go with this. Let's just go with it. So, y'all, most of us, I believe, may or may not be aware that the Senate in their infrastructure bill and in all this little, late night wrangling that they've been doing, trying to get Joe Biden's bill passed, accepted an amendment from the House from Josh Hawley, who's a Republican conservative who represents Missouri. Long story short, Josh Hawley set forth this amendment calling for the hiring of 100,000 police officers, right? And all the Democrats said, you know what, that's a great fucking idea. We think we need 100,000 more cops on here. So the amendment, I believe, was adopted by Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville, who, if you guys recall, ran against Jeff Sessions. Tommy Tuberville was endorsed by Donald Trump, just to give y'all a little idea where Tommy Tuberville is coming from. But this Tuberville amendment was adopted by the Senate. And so the clip that we're about to see is Tommy Tuberville beginning the clip, and then you're going to see Cory Booker come through in the most gushing, giving all the platitudes and doubling down on how no Democrats in the Senate are in favor of defunding the police. So, Jared, take it away.
I want my colleagues to support our law enforcement by voting yes for this amendment. Opposing my amendment is a vote in support of defunding the police and against the men and women in blue.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Madam President.
Senator from New Jersey.
I am so excited. This is perhaps the highlight of this long and painful and torturous night. This is a gift. If it wasn't complete abdication of Senate procedures and esteem, I would walk over there and hug my colleague from Alabama. And I will tell you right now, thank God, because there's some people who have said that they're members of this deliberative body that want to defund the police, to my horror. And now this senator has given us the gift that finally, once and for all, we can put to bed this scurrilous accusation that somebody in this great esteemed body would want to defund the police. So let all of us, 100 people, not walk, but sashay down there and vote for this amendment and put to rest the lies, and I am sure I will see no political ads attacking anybody here over defund the police. And I would ask unanimous consent to add something else to this obvious bill. Can we add also that every senator here wants to defund the police, believes in God, country, and apple pie? Thank you.
Jesus. Get him out of here.
Wow.
Get him out of here.
Wow. Look, I gotta again shout out Glenn Ford, rest in power, rise in power, because my first assignment again for Black Agenda Report was to go get him on the record at the National Press Club, exposing himself when he was running against Sharp James as being what he is. So I mean, it was predictable. It was called. He was called Martin Kilson. Dr. Martin Kilson even was calling him a Trojan horse candidate back in the day, and there he is.
Is Cory Booker the longest serving Black senator ever?
Oh, wow. Is that true? Honestly, I don't know.
He probably at this stage he probably is, because not a lot of Black senators existed. So it might be, you could do 2 terms and be the longest existing senator.
Well,
yeah, because Obama only needed 5 minutes before he was good to be president.
I mean, so. I'm just like, even though it's Cory Booker, and I mean, I'm just thinking about this is a dude from Newark, New Jersey. Shout out to Newark, shout out to Elizabeth, Trenton, and all these other places in Jersey. But this dude right here, that was I wouldn't even believe it if someone just told me how that shit went. But to just witness that, I mean, he looked like somebody literally, like there was someone with their arm up his ass telling him what to say, right? Like a real puppet. You know what
I was just gonna say battery in his back. But
I just went all the way out. I'm like, this is the Remix Morning Show, ain't it?
Guys, that amendment passed the Senate 99-0, 99-0, 99-0, 99-0.
I mean, you can literally see their fingers coming out his tongue where his mouth was.
Yeah, no, seriously. If Kim had just come on here and said, "I saw an extraordinary act of cooning in Cory Booker," I'd have been like, "Yeah, maybe, But that you had the footage ready for us is, I mean, that is.
Thanks, Kim.
You're welcome. I mean, to remind us, I mean, Cory Booker, who see, they are roasting Cory Booker in the chat, by the way. Like
in the chat,
I'm sure.
In the chat.
Oh my goodness. Hey, I can't even say what I want to say.
He's always been like that. Like you said, like he's, his history is part of his history is, he brought in Facebook and some other groups or whatever to help run or help plan some actions for the public school in Newark. He got rich off of being a local politician and trying to act like he was in the tech world. So he's always been a schemer, somebody who's looking out for number one, and somebody who's never had the interest. I mean, never had the interest of Black folks. And he's like, he's Obama light, but he basically just, he wants to be the next coming of Obama and doesn't have, for whatever Obama does have, but he doesn't have a third of his charisma, 1/5 of his depth. And I'm not even being kind to Obama, who, is trash on another level, but whatever Obama is, Cory Booker is 10 times. It's like not even up to that standard. It's not shocked.
Did Cory get invited to the 60th? I saw that Obama was disinviting some of the political folks from the party. Did Booker
even if Cory was disinvited, he would have showed up anyway. So he's that dude.
He's definitely trying to be at the 61st,
clawing and scratching to be somewhere, somebody to call him relevant. He's that dude.
He's the most relevant Manila folder ever.
Yeah. Shout out to my cousin Jay, who's in Newark. He just told me to correct that shit. He said that nigga ain't from Newark. That's right. In all caps. So my apologies, folks.
I was waiting. I just knew Newark was gonna reach out on some level.
My cousin Jay, like, look, man, quit. I didn't even know he watched the damn show. Shout out to Jay.
I love it. See, we got fact checkers on deck here, Kalonji. That's what I'm talking about. That's the kind of fact checking that we need. And I don't even think Cory Booker is from New Jersey, y'all.
I didn't think he's from the United States. I don't think he's from anywhere. He's from the moon somewhere. That motherfucker crazy. Yeah. But anyway.
Well, it's interesting. One of the stories that I wanted to bring up today, actually, on if we were going to draw a connection that I think actually is an important parallel to create here, would be that people like Cory Booker and their analysis is cultivated and encouraged and propagated. And one way that happens is actually connected again to my constant painful struggle with buying power. So I got this alert the other day. the latest. So the connection I'll show in just a second, but the story starts here with this another new story, quote unquote new, about Black consumers in Georgia wield considerable economic clout in a new UGA report. The new UGA report, of course, is the same multicultural economic report created by the University of Georgia's Selig Center for Economic Growth, which, to my humble pain, has seen, because I did click the link, is seen the cost of the report double. So when I bought the 2019 report so that I could have it a first primary text account for my work, I had to pay $125. So I have to feel like all of my whining and complaining and argument has merely inflated the value, because now the report costs $250. If you want to actually see what I have shown to be a baseless argument for what buying power is, and how they have no data to support the claim, and that it's all marketing and advertising that is mispromoted and misunderstood, and I think to our detriment intentionally. But it goes on to say a number of things, like, for instance, if you collectively look at Asian, Black, Hispanic, and Native America combined, there will be by 2020, the buying power of these communities went from $458 billion in 1990 to $3 trillion in 2020. And this article claims that Jeffrey Humphreys, who writes the Selig Center reports since the early 1990s, says that by 2025, these collective communities will have a $4 trillion buying power that can be taken advantage of. Now, I'll stop here in terms of explaining why that is why that is nonsense. But I just wanted to show the tie-in to the Cory Booker piece, is that if you click one of the links in the story, it's talking about how the proof of the buying powers, the impact of the increase of these communities' buying power is in all of the attention that, in this case, Black people in Atlanta are getting through investment from Google, Apple, Blackstone, all to do to create the Cory Bookers of the world, as I would argue. That is to invest in Black universities and Black communities with the sole purpose of encouraging STEM-related field involvement, tech and data investment, and Black entrepreneurial, Black capitalist development as well. So they're just coming in with millions of dollars, promising to revitalize the West End of Atlanta. And this is specifically where I wanted to ask Kamal Kalanji and the Ear Doctor even about the West End of Atlanta that they're trying to revitalize. Again, they're coming in with Blackstone, Apple, Google, saying we want to get Black people involved in data and tech and all the STEM related fields, and we're going to invest in the Atlanta University community, the Black University collective in Atlanta. And out of this comes the ethic we saw on display in Cory Booker, people who champion business, the corporate world, investment from the most elite private entities, and end up working and speaking against the people, even as they adorn themselves in Blackness and progress and advancement. So, anyway, I'll stop there. But I thought this is fascinating, and I definitely want to continue to look at this. But please, anyone jump in with anything. I mean, it's wild stuff.
I mean, I'll say quickly, if you look at what the West End is starting to become, it's again another target of gentrification. The West End is again one of these places in Atlanta that's gone from a working class and even middle class Black enclave or place where it has sort of a center of a culture in Atlanta, Black culture, to something that is this hodgepodge multicultural area, which is being overdeveloped as we speak. Huge hotels are being planned, huge new developments are being planned, which again do the same thing that they all do, is they bring up not only property taxes, but the cost of housing. And there's going to be, with the census coming out soon, what we're going to see again is probably for the first time, maybe in 80, 90 years, I'm not even sure what, a minority Black population in Atlanta. So the Atlanta Black population may slip under 50% officially for the first time in the next census. And so all these folks talking to us about how they're doing these tech things for Black folks and other things, if they create one Black millionaire, that one Black millionaire will get trotted out to be the representative of all of us. At the same time, where hundreds of thousands, literally, of Black people will be displaced from their homes, moved out of Atlanta, continually be low-end workers. And so that's really what happens during this. Is this all about the propaganda value of suggesting that you're helping to lift some particular group out of poverty when no statistical evidence exists whatsoever that any of these plans and or ideas have done any of that, because they still control the wealth and they still control where the resources go, and people become workers for these large corporations. And if they're lucky, right? If not, they're really in the gig economy, but they get pushed out of places like Atlanta and other central cities. And that's been the predominant theme across the country for the last 20 years, which has been an exodus of working class and poor folks, particularly Black and brown people, from these central cities, and they've been moved to the suburbs in a sort of French model of what city development and suburban development looks like.
Yeah, and also, I mean, as you mentioned, Kamau, some of those tactics to gentrify those areas, including raising property taxes, doing things like making water bills exorbitant, stuff to push poorer people out of their familiar homes in their communities. But how this ties in again to Cory Booker, celebrating the passage of this amendment of 100,000 cops. Kamau, there's a big cop academy coming to Atlanta, brokered by Black people. This is some bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Right, but along with that, right now, one of the things that they're doing in Atlanta is they're trying to expand Atlanta for white folks, because not only do they have the West End, but now they've come up with the Upper West Side. And the Upper West Side is a space that was between Smyrna and like Bankhead. You know what I mean? It's like this one little area where they've created all these new restaurants and like a new shopping district and all that type stuff. One of the businesses that are becoming huge in Atlanta is the tire business, because of the fact that you get so many damn flat tires because they're constantly building. They're constantly building more buildings and houses for white folks. So they leave these nails all over the place. You know what I mean? So at one point I was changing my damn tire like every other month. That's how crazy it was. But I mean, Atlanta is just what it's always been, an entertainment hub, and it's made to service white folks right now. You know what I mean? So like Kamau was talking about the other day with the whole graffiti thing. All of this is like, we can have this experience of the Blackness without as many Black folks there. You know what I'm saying? So let's have this culture. Let's enjoy this graffiti. Let's enjoy this urban feel. And let's use these Negroes under the guise of this tech bullshit to continue to be the back end of our shit. You know what I mean? So it's, again, neocolonialism at its finest. It's just what it is. Make you feel like you have a stake in the game.
You're really describing Washington, D.C. right now. Like,
absolutely. I was just about to ask you, Kim, has D.C. dipped beneath 50% Black yet? I mean, it's on its way.
It is. Chocolate City is no longer Chocolate City. And in Kalonji, when you talk about them creating like new neighborhoods, I'm like, dog, you just described NOMA, the area, New York Avenue, Florida Avenue to North Capitol Street. Like they call it NOMA. That shit didn't used to be called nothing before. And now it's called a whole new neighborhood because it's got tech hubs and it's shiny and it's new, and they moving the homeless people from underneath that bridge right there on Florida Avenue. So what you're describing in Atlanta is what has been happening in DC for these past 25 years.
But the first place they gentrified?
U Street. The niggas.
No. I'm talking about the first place in North America they gentrified. The United States. America.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So this is the original gentrification. You know what I'm saying? They pushed out the natives of this land and moved their own asses in and brought us in to till the soil and all that. And now we're complaining about the very shit that we came here to build. So the reality is you know, the shit was gentrified from the jump. That's what America means, gentrification.
For me, a big shout out to Dr. James Turner, who was the first one I remember for me, and in a classroom setting, not to mention, made the point that he was saying it's not even gentrification, it's colonial removal.
Totally.
And ethnic cleansing, a form of ethnic cleansing in a lot of ways.
That's right. That's right.
Because again, even in Brooklyn, where I come from, you know, when you're young, you don't see it as, even as I was like, you know, relatively speaking, politicized in my 20s. And there's an area, Fort Greene, Clinton Hill, that the bars and restaurants started coming in, and we thought it was cool because it was a place to go hang out. And then little by little, you would start noticing that the folks who used to live there weren't there anymore. More white folks were moving in. And Atlanta has been more egregious because Atlanta has literally, you know, paid poor Black people or homeless people to move out of Atlanta and never to come back again. Atlanta literally like locked down. Moved its residents out of Atlanta, tore down all the public housing in Atlanta, and never replaced those spaces, and just pushed people out. And that, you know, that's part of the history of why Atlanta is decreasing its Black population, because those folks were pushed out. And then on top of that, again, as places so-called redevelop, the housing that's created, we have what in Atlanta is called the Beltline. The housing that's created around these particular areas, it's like a jogging path, becomes high-end condos that, for the most part, only folks who already have resources or managers in corporate companies can afford. And Atlanta's openness to being the headquarters, there's so many Fortune 500 corporations. Again, it means that it's pushing that managerial class into the inner city as it pushes out its working class population, and then doesn't give a damn where they wind up as long as they show up to work every day at 9 a.m., even though they have to battle and get public transportation or drive longer, which has an impact on their cars to get there. And so that's part of that history of how, all done under Black mayors and a Black city council, right? None of it was done under white leadership, all done under Black political leadership, teaming with the white economic elite.
DC too, exactly.
So I know we only got a couple minutes left before we get to our next break, and we got a number of other stories, including some breaking news that I'm getting via text that I'd like us to get to just very quickly, and then maybe we can come back to some of this after in the next hour after our interview. But just very quickly, I know, Kalonji, you have a story about an anonymous juror.
Come with the breaking news.
Breaking news, nigga. You can't say we got breaking news and you're like, Kalonji.
Don't break the news. You gotta break the news.
First of all, everybody calm down.
That's Kim. That's not everybody.
Whatever we want. I can do whatever I want with the breaking news. Relax.
It ain't about the biscuits, though. As long as it's not about the biscuits.
No. In fact,
it's real breaking news.
I'll come back to that. I'm gonna come back to that in a second. The real breaking news. Shout out to Millennials Are Killing Capitalism, who just reached out to let us know that there is just been called for a national prison strike. Speaking of Black August and prison resistance, and just some of the text. We'll make this available and continue to obviously cover this story. But it is with a collective heavy heart, but a raging spirit of abolition that Jailhouse Lawyers Speak announces the call for national abolition demonstrations inside the prisons and jails of America. Jailhouse Lawyers Speak members around the nation are making a direct appeal for people locked up to disrupt the normal prison operations of America. These demonstrations will be known as National Shut 'em Down demonstrations, scheduled to take place August 21st through September 9th. Of 2022. Is that?
No, it's supposed to be 2021. In fact,
I thought so. But go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say this has been under works for a while, and the dates are symbolic. The August 21st, of course, is the assassination of George Jackson, and September 9th is the Attica Rebellion. So it's a perfect time. You know what I mean? And I definitely, I'm sure Black Power Media will be in full support of that. So definitely, it's been under works, but yeah, we're happy to see it's taking hands. So shout out to who is that? Millennials
Millennials are killing capitalism.
Indeed, definitely. Salute
Jared Ware in particular hit me up this morning with just now with that information, and like I said, and that's what I get for cold reading something for the first time on air. I think obviously 2022 doesn't make sense.
No, it says
unless it was a prolonged struggle. I was like,
well, actually, one of the few times I'll say look in the chat. Apparently, he's in the chat and he's saying
it is 2022.
There still might be some confusion. 2022 is a national prisoner strike and boycott. So we need some clarity for the time period. Because somebody else is saying 2022 is correct.
Oh, okay. So again,
all right.
I'm not they're doing the build-up. The build-up is happening now. The build-up is happening now for, I guess, an announced prison strike next year. It's
okay.
What seems to be the information.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you all for the clarification.
Okay. So he said the outside stuff is 2021. So that's what okay. That must have been what I was saying. All right.
We get started with the support outside, and then those inside are building up to something next year.
Mm-hmm. That's what it seems like, yeah.
Beautiful thing.
And somebody wants to that's what it seems like, yeah.
So, and I also want to remind folks that there are people right now in the state of California who are in solitary confinement because they're commemorating Black August. So we want to keep them in because Black August in the California prisons is considered gang activity. I want to point out tomorrow live at 8 p.m. we will have Mama Ayana on talking about Black August resistance. We'll be going deeper into the history of Black August, how it was organized, and some of the key players behind the wall. So check us out tomorrow live, Riot Starter TV, 8 p.m. So I wanted to point that out since we're talking about prisons.
Yeah, right on. I think we can come back later on in the show to a couple other pieces that I wanted to get to regarding political prisoner news. Shout out to the Freedom Archives and their prisoner newsletter. So a couple stories we want to get to on that and their commemoration of George Jackson as well, and a little bit on Dr. Joy James and her commemoration of George Jackson, which is on that site, and I think it's also being discussed on an episode of Millennials Are Killing Capitalism. I think she just did an interview with them, and she may be popping through the remix next week. So we can get to that later on in the show. But anyway, wanted to bring some of that breaking news. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got a minute left, and my story was real basic, and I can run through that real quick. An anonymous jury has been ordered for the ex-cop Kim Potter, who murdered 20-year-old Daunte Wright. That case, trial begins on November 30th. Of course, you remember that Daunte Wright was a 20-year-old Black motorist who was killed in Brooklyn Center, Minneapolis. The judge said basically it's the same. This whole anonymous jury thing is the same thing that they use with Derek Chauvin and the death of, the murder of George Floyd. So we'll hear more about that, and we're definitely going to be, on their ass with this for this murder right here. We're not going to let it go up like that. So just want to point that out. Right. November 30th is the date for that.
All right, right on. All right, well, good people, let's move on. Keep it moving here at the Remix Morning Show, Black Power Media. We got the Ear Doctor waiting in the wings. What's up, sir?
Yo, everything is good. You know that song by Beyonce, Girls Rule the World? I had to say I got to give it up, first of all, to all the women out there, because without the women, it would not be hip-hop. We were just celebrating yesterday the birthday of hip-hop, which happened August 11th, 1973. But really, it started 2 days before that. You know why? Because Kool Herc's sister, Cindy Campbell, said, I need an outfit for school. And therefore, I'm going to throw a party and hire my brother to DJ.
Wow. Boom.
There it is.
Facts.
Big up to Cindy Campbell and Kool Herc. So I'm going to do a little mix, show some love for that hip-hop love to the pioneers.
Right on.
Get it.
Bars.
Hey.
Remix.
This is and my name is Benji Bell. Well, I'm living by the sea, making history with all the fly girls yelling, take me. Well, I'm shy rockin', I can't be stopped. For all the fly guys gonna hit the top. What's up? Hands, everybody, if you got what it takes. Cause I'm Curtis Blow, and I want you to know that these are the breaks. Come on. Brakes to the bus, brakes on the car, brakes to make you a superstar, brakes to win and brakes to lose. These here brakes will rock your shoes, and these are the breaks. Break it up, break it up, break it up. I said the hip, hop, you don't stop the rockin' to the bang, bang. When you say up, jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie beat. Now what you hear is not a test, I'm rapping the beat. And me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet. You see, I am the mic, and I like to say hello. Freeze! The white, the red, and the brown, and yellow. Freeze! Bass. Vision, dreams of passion, and all the while I think of you. A very strange reaction. Come on, man. Yeah. Once again, welcome out to Black Power Media. Welcome out to Black Power Media. This is the Remix Morning Show, and that's our show, Love to Hip Hop, all the way back to 1973 to 2021. Now, let's get back to the morning show. Yeah.
Every time I hear that breakbeat, Ear Doctor, I'm always put in the mindset of this Baltimore club song, and it goes, East Side, get me pumped with y'all. Anyway, sorry, my bad.
Okay, what's that? Jared trying to share something? I wanted. What are you trying to share?
What is that? Is that Mama's Biscuits?
Folks sending wanted pictures.
We can't see. Hold it closer. Hold it closer. Hold it closer.
Take that full screen, champ. We need to ban that junk.
Oh, there we go. Wait a minute.
Oh.
Where is that? You with the hat?
That's me with my roster hat on.
Oh my God.
The little kid? Are you the little kitty children?
That's
kind of blurred. You can't see. Oh,
hey,
we can see it, but you know, I mean,
yeah, you can look more like Mama's Wonder Bread.
Nah,
with all ends.
Hate on, haters.
Hey, listen. For our Patreons, anybody that donates $30 or more on Patreon, we'll get you a signed autographed copy
from the living members, from the last
Mama's
members.
Wow.
Wait till the video footage drops. People gonna be apologizing on this joint.
Take your time, brother. Take your time.
Can't wait.
Apologize.
All right, yo.
Hey, listen, man. Doctor. That picture right there, boy. Look here, man. Speaking of drops, we need somebody to drop kick that damn picture. But anyway, we got my man Balagoon coming up next with Warrior Class. You know, and I don't know, maybe you should get Balagoon to be a part of the group, man. You know what I'm saying? Change the name to Mama's Biscuits and the Beatdowns. What you think?
Hey, if he can get in the pocket, I don't know. His hands might be nice for this, but can you get in the pocket? I don't know.
I heard he's a former MC, man. I don't know if y'all ready. Anyway, we're gonna be right back at you, man. Remix Morning Show. Malagoon, OJ Tade up next.
Yeah, Ma, I take a little butter on it. I love Mama's biscuits. And yes, I can get in the pocket. I was an MC. Also, I played lead guitar, trumpeter, and violin. So, you know, I can get with the group when you resurrected, Jared. Let me say this. Today I'm going to deal with some prepping aspects. The number one thing as a prepper that we have to do is organize. So if you're not part of an organization, you cannot survive. You have to be part of an organization. But, I don't say but, however, if that organization you're part of does not have the proper supplies for their own survival in a disaster, if they are not trained in a disaster to deal with the disaster and to use the tools and the supplies that they have, then they will rip each other apart or rip somebody else apart or steal from people at best. That's just the reality of it, because starvation will make a liar out of us. Thirst will make a liar of us, and the idea of it. This is why you saw people buying 50 rolls of tissue, because they weren't prepared. One of my students, who was a Marshall student but not in the prepping aspect, calls me up and says, proudly, I got my supplies, Balogun. I said, oh, good. What'd you get? I brought 50 rolls of tissue. I said, oh, why'd you do that? You hear his wife in the back. I told you not to get that. Panic will make us do crazy things. We say, I don't know why people bought all that. It's from panic. Kalonji can tell you, all of us were way ahead of most people that we knew, because we had trained together, because you have to have an organization. We knew where we would have to go if we had to leave our homes and go somewhere else. Okay. So organization is important, but that organization has to train and has to have their supplies. Okay. Or you're going to have to now deal with the realities of starvation, of cold, of heat, of thirst, whatever it may be. And you can say you can take it until it hits you. All right. So I'm just saying that with love to everybody. Now, today I want to talk about Get Home Bag. Many of you probably heard about the bug out bag, which in USPI we call a go bag. That means if I got to get out of my house, I put that bag on, I'm out. Everybody in your home should have a bug out bag that's over 12 years old. My 12-year-old is 6 feet tall. If I brought her on here right now, you would think I'm lying. She's 12 and she weighs about 170 pounds. Most of it's muscle. Most 12-year-olds are not built that way. So we try to, if they're over 12 or they're able to handle that, they can handle it. Now, one of my students has a bunch of boys. They give them a bag with just some clothes and underwear in it to carry, you know. My bag is a 10-day bag. because I'm not just caring for me, I'm thinking of other folks. You don't need that. But one thing about your bag, Get Home and Bug Out, do not have a military looking bag. If you got one, try to get you a regular looking backpack and then put your stuff in it. Because you're not on a military excursion, you're trying to survive and then thrive. And other people will be too. So if you're walking the streets with a military bag, that ain't scaring nobody. People are saying, oh, they got stuff. They're coming for it. One of my bags I used to walk around with, it had flowers on it. And nobody would think I was, they probably like this idiot walking around with a flowered bag. Probably got chips and stuff in it. I had all kinds of things in there. And none of them were chips, right? So this is my Get Home bag. Bug Out, you got to leave. Get Home, I'm away from home. I got to get back home to where I'm safer at, where I have more supplies, and also where my family may be, right? Or Get Home could also get to somebody else's house from work. If I had to get to somebody else's house, I'm at home and I got to go to Kalanji's house. I use my Bug Out bag to get there. It may take me 3 days, 4 days to get there, right? But this, like here, where I'm at shooting here, if I had to get home, this will get me home. I won't show everything in there, but you want to have a radio in there, if you can have a long-range radio. That I'm not going to show. I got some medicines in it. You say, what? Yeah, I got some amoxicillin, oxycodone. I'm allergic to oxycodone. Once again, this is for other people, okay? For painkiller. I won't tell you how I got the oxycodone. I even got some CKLS. Shout out to Dr. Gauss. May he rest in power. For folks, I've got a medical kit. This next Warrior class Saturday, we're going to have Doc Peggins as our first guest. Doc Peggins is one of the leading people in combat. He used to be a combat medic. He's one of the leading people in survival medicine and first aid. Okay, I got a major kit from him, medical kit from him for my Bug Out bag. For this bag, this is a medium level medical kit. I've got change of clothes. I've got tools in here as far as multi-tool, some knives and other things, for self-defense, water packs, things of that nature. So you just need enough to get home. If you want to up that, you can have you a small crowbar in there, a hammer, because it may be an earthquake. Things have been down. You got to get out, dig your way out, or break through some walls or what have you. So you can have that. Have a bib key in there, BIBB. That's a 4-way key that you can use outside in like McDonald's and places like that. There's a panel on the side of the building, hotels. You use that key and it'll draw water out if you have to get you some water, okay? So have you a Get Home bag, have you a Bug Out bag, just in case. That stays at your house until you have to leave. And we'll deal with the supplies you should have in those things. But I'll keep this abridged just because of time. All right. This, once again, I've used this to get home when there was an accident that had happened and the car wasn't working and I had to get home, and I was able to get home safely because of certain things that happened. It's bad. Have you some power bars, things of that nature. All right. Because you may have to stop, rest for a few hours. Bug Out bag, you're thinking you may have to stop and rest for a few days. That's different. This has everything I need to get home and to get myself out of certain situations. If I had to open up certain doors or break certain windows to get out of certain situations, things of that nature. All right. So you should have that. All right. Somebody said black people should know how to protect themselves and what they love. Absolutely. Absolutely. That was Belay. Okay. He's out of town. That's why I'm just here by myself. But yes, you should be able to protect what you have and what you love. That includes yourself. And that's why you have yourself a get home bag. You have a bug out bag. Next time we'll probably deal with the bug out bag, and I'll pull certain things out. That may be the very first time you ever see me pull a firearm out of a bag. And yes, I have not a pistol. I have what we call not a shotgun that can fit in my bug out bag, and you would never know it's there. Okay, it's about this long, and it's legal because it's not a sawed-off shotgun. That's illegal. That means you modified a shotgun. What we call not a shotgun is just called a firearm. It was made that short with a Raptor handle. Never use a pistol grip that will tear your wrist up. But a Raptor handle, the force of the shotgun is transferred from the grip back into the shotgun, so you don't even feel the power of a 12 gauge. Or if a 12 gauge is too much, I teach them on a 20 gauge as well. Okay, you can have a 20 gauge, not a shotgun, or a 12 gauge, not a shotgun. Very short, goes right in your bag. I'm debating whether I'll show myself holding it. I might get Belay to hold it, so you never get me on camera holding a firearm. Okay, I've made that a policy. I may have to stick to that policy. We'll say I don't want to throw Belay under the bus though. So thank you for your time. If you have any questions, you can ask. Come Warrior Class 1 p.m. Saturdays, and we'll answer those questions. This Saturday, it will be all about survival on Warrior Class. All right, we're gonna be prepping with politics. So join us 1 p.m. Saturday. Peace and love.
Right on. And Baba Balagoon is definitely welcome to the Mama's Biscuits reunion. No doubt.
Yo, Balagoon said he played like 4, 5, 6 instruments, Jared, and he rap. Hey, he might take over your lead position at Mama's Biscuits.
Is it? I don't know. They might have to fight for the position. I don't know, man.
My man Jeff is nice, man. That's all I'm gonna say. But you know what? There was one piece. I don't want to go too. I know we got more to get to, but just quickly, there was a bit of news connected to that De La announcement yesterday that we didn't get to, Kim, and that I know you in particular. I think you'll appreciate. I know Kamal won't. Is that they announced in their Instagram joint that they have a Pete Rock DJ Premier project on its way, and I nearly fell off the chair because those are my two favorite producers. That's what I said. So just putting that out there, Pete Rock Premier De La on its way. Yeah.
Why wouldn't Kamal appreciate that?
Because Kamal he's like the non-est hip-hopest Brooklyn cat ever. Like he doesn't fully appreciate.
Honest.
And he's muted.
Sounds so good.
Sounds so good, Kamal. Muted.
Yes, Kamal. And what else you talking about?
Wait a minute.
They're muted.
There we go. I love the hip hop and bringing it back to artists, but it's like when I grew up, if my mom had told me that the Drifters are getting back together like 30 years later, and I'm like, am I supposed to be excited by that? Or, you know what I'm saying? Wow. She would be excited about that. But we really share that information with the public at large now. So I love Pete Rock. All that. His remix, Shut It Down, was like the best
serious?
In the world. You know what I'm saying? But
are you serious?
The same though, a new joint by Pete Rock right now is like, okay.
This is the most backhanded complimentary commentary that you are
the
offering.
Levels of disrespect right now it's just crazy.
But he's saying it nice.
You ever guessed?
And you know what? Shout out to Pete Rock, because I remember a few years ago, him and Smith and Wesson, they were attacked by police, the NYPD, at a release party that they did. What? And and they were tear gassed, and a lot of folks were attacked.
Punched.
She got punched.
Put their hands on her.
Yeah, I did an interview with General Steele back in the day. Matter of fact, my bad, it was Tech. And on Contraband Classified, I don't want to plug my old shit, but it was crazy the way they went down, man. I did just plug Contraband Classified. I did a Kamal, but anyway, they rushed him pretty hard, man, and it was some horrible shit. Just to show you how atrocious the NYPD are. You know what I'm saying?
And slightly beneath that level of disrespect for Pete Rock is Kamal. So thankfully he has a guest here, a wonderful guest that is we're all appreciate will save him from what would have to be the wrath of hip hop's revenge.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, the elders of hip hop on a tour.
Wow. That's why we need Mama's Biscuit back, man. I'm telling you, man. Once Mama's Biscuit is here, it's a wrap.
Let's hear more about Pete Rock again. My bad. I'm sorry. Let's go back to Pete Rock instead of Mama's Biscuit. Anything but Mama's Biscuit. Man.
Anyway,
so we got a guest coming up. I just wanted to set it up for everybody real quick, even before we bring it on. But we talk a lot about what's happening in the Democratic Party and progressives and the work that's being done. And usually we talk about it from a standpoint of people who are not necessarily participating fully in it. But one of our guests today is somebody who's engaged in some of that space and wants to. I want to get into a discussion with her around, what is progressivism within the Democratic Party, even though she doesn't necessarily consider herself a Democrat, and is there a space within that to fight for certain needs that we have now, even as some of us talk about building alternative parties and fighting beyond just what's in the Democratic Party. And that's Sister Anoa Changa. No relation to Kalonji, thankfully.
No relation to Kalonji.
Let's bring that sister. Where's my background sound? Yo? Doom. What up, Sister Anoa?
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for the clarification that I don't, because I was listening to your intro. I was like, wait a minute here. But I am happy to be here. Thank you all so much for having me.
No, I'm happy to have you here because like on our show, we engage in the politics of talking about the work of sort of mainstream politics. And obviously, a lot of us talk about what we need to build to not be connected to democratic politics, right? But a lot of that is what we need to do, as opposed to somewhat of what's happening now, which still has an impact on our day-to-day living, our lives, what resources we have access to, and obviously the level of oppression that we suffer. And so you, as somebody who I feel like, even though you have politics, which I think are far more expansive and radical than what's obviously within the Democratic Party, you've taken up some space in terms of doing what we would consider to be organizing within electoral process and stuff like that. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, and tell me if I've misrepresented anything you want to clarify too. But I wanted to talk to you about some of the recent happenings, let's say over the last few years, in the sense of some of the movement within trying to bring sort of a leftward, let's say leftward ideological slant towards policies and procedures, both at a national level and maybe at some local levels. Would that be a good setup for you?
Yeah, I think that works well.
Yeah. So let's start with, for me, we just recently had the election in Ohio, Nina Turner,
special election,
the special election, she being defeated, but obviously a insurgent campaign in the sense of someone with left politics on a lot of things outside the Democratic mainstream, and at one point was ahead in the polls, and then the Democratic machinery stepped in to impact that race. And so I want to talk a little bit. I'll ask you some questions like, what do you think that means in terms of that struggle within, let's say, the party apparatus or within folks who are trying to have an insurgency? What does that mean for sort of looking out for the future of that insurgency and those politics?
Couple different things, right? Like there is no, like the revolution in the Democratic Party, all of that language is very catchy for a season or two, maybe, right? But like, let's just be real. There is no revolution happening inside of mainstream politics. Now, there is some shifting in the way that people are maybe moving or talking about particular issues. And that does have benefit, to many of our communities. However, like I maybe naively once upon a time was like, yeah, this makes sense. But having real talk, whether it's you, whether it's with my dad or my stepdad, and other folks that I really respect, is really getting an understanding about what is possible in the way in which people are really invested in maintaining entrenched power and the status quo, right? Mm-hmm. So just say it out top. But I do think when we look at, the race run by former state senator Nina Turner in Ohio and some of the issues, I got a chance to interview her for News One and just really just have a conversation about like what was at stake in, the Ohio 11th congressional district race. And to be clear, it was a special election, right? So special elections already have lower turnout than ordinary elections. You have a shorter timeline than a regular election cycle. It was hotly contested to replace now HUD Secretary Marcia Fudge. And, the demographics of that very gerrymandered, it's a very gerrymandered district that runs, it's like a weird, like kind of T-shaped, area that includes some farmland and suburban areas. It's a large chunk, if not most, if not all of Cleveland. It also includes a portion of Akron, right? So it was a lot of ground to cover. I do think that there is an over-reliance on the Bernie progressive machine in a lot of places in America where they have not built a sustained base. Now, I'm just gonna keep it real, right? Mm-hmm. And not to say that people don't agree with the issues, but a lot of times progressives are not talking to our folks. And even some of us who may have more radical ideologies, we're not talking to our folks in plain language that they understand and how it relates to their actual everyday lives, right? So if we're trying to get people to come out and vote again in the middle of a pandemic, again, we got to really like give them something. And a lot of people did come out and vote for Senator Turner. I mean, she was the number 2 vote getter out of like 13 people, I think, who ran. However, there are those standard Dem voters who the party was able to turn out. And yes, there was the amount of money that was run against her, but progressives like Senator Turner are raising lots of money in their own right to run their campaign. So, I mean, my thing is that if people are going to engage in electoral politics, one loss does not stop the show. Representative Cori Bush ran for Senate in 2016 against Jason Kander and lost. Ran in 2018 against Lacey Clay and lost. And she geared up again and ran in 2020 and beat Lacey Clay. She became the first person in about 60 years not named Clay to hold that seat. So it's cycles of engagement, but it's consistent building. I mean, if you're going to try and take down a political power, you have to have your own apparatus to do so. And so people need to consistently do that. And they need to be comfortable doing that without the Bernie Sanders name attached to them, because that doesn't necessarily, unfortunately, that don't necessarily relate for everybody, right? And like everything cannot be tied to the ideology, presence, and existence of just one old white man. And some folks might not like that or whatever, but that's just real talk, especially for us down here in the South. That don't really go nowhere. Mm-hmm. But the issues actually are very much relevant and matter to people in our communities.
And it seems to be, I mean, obviously over the last 3 or 4 years, maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe at this stage, somewhat of an insurgence of, relatively speaking, younger, more progressive Democrats, particularly in the House of Representatives. But they also seem to at times split on different issues, which means that they don't necessarily come together as, let's say, a slate or as a common vote, like they've on foreign policy issues broken apart. And I think there's been some domestic issues as well that they've like not voted as a collective. Is there like, you know, whether you know this or not or whether like that, but do you see in terms of the way in which they're organizing things that they're missing in terms of even trying to, and even just being bold enough to say, we're not going to let this legislation pass because we have enough votes to stop because the margins are so small within the House, as opposed to some capitulating to the larger powers that be, who are threatening them probably with committee chair seats or being on selected committees or withholding resources. That fight back by the powers that be, how strong is it in terms of like these progressives not necessarily sort of fulfilling the mandates that they think that they want to fulfill? Or do you think that some of these folks are just not as strong on some of these issues as they would like to think that they are?
Well, I think a lot of us aren't as strong on a lot of these issues as we like to think we are, right? Whether we are elected members of Congress or folks who engage in this analysis. I mean, again, this is a conversation you and I have had as well, like the constant need to continue to engage and develop and strengthen those policy muscles, right? That applies to folks who are in Congress, regardless of how old they are or how long they've been there, right? Whether they're new or older folks. And so I do think, though, that there are moments where there is a collective operation. I think part of the problem is like maybe some of what people who may have been more movement aligned and how they're used to organizing and collectively moving, the status and the way Congress is set up does not necessarily allow for that. So I think it also takes time as people are growing their numbers, and their numbers have just, you know, doubled basically with this last election cycle, and they're trying to hold those seats. I think it's also the pressure, right? Especially when we're talking about the House of Representatives, because you're perpetually running for office when you're in the House of Representatives. Versus when you're in the Senate, when you're getting elected every 6 years, right? So I think there's a different pressure to maintain, you know, an apparatus that allows you to withstand any type of challenge, that you can stay there to do what you or have promised that you're going to do, but also trying to figure out ways to negotiate and where to take a stand. I do know that folks, I mean, I watch the commentary too and have my own thoughts on some votes and decisions that people make, but I think that it's also like folks are trying to figure out how to exist and what does it mean to organize inside of such an entrenched body. But I also think this gets back to something you and I have talked about in terms of accountability and how we build accountability into our process. It's very easy. And it's fine for folks who do not ascribe to or see any value in systems. Like, I'm not saying folks got to change the way they do things, but I think for folks who, like, we vote and then it's like, okay, well, go do your job. But like, people need folks to consistently show up, because if folks who voted and supported people are not consistently showing up, are not consistently showing support when they need support, but also putting pressure when they need pressure, like we can put pressure on people we consider people we support or our allies too. That doesn't mean that they get off the hook, but like that type of accountability, that type of assistance needs to be a part of the process, like ongoing, and not just showing up at election day, because otherwise these people are left to the wolves, or they're left to the naysayers in their districts who didn't vote for them, right? And so then they get pressure because it's like, you're doing stuff that people in your district don't even support, when that's not necessarily always the case. And so if you do support people with particular politics, and you do want them to continue to make, you know, these particular moves, then you got to keep actually like pushing on them, but making sure that sustained support and engagement continues. But that also gets back to this notion that we can't just, you know, kind of dip our toe in when it is for those who do choose to engage in electoral policy, whether it's that we're talking about Congress, but really it's even more important, we're talking about state and local stuff, right? Because that's really where we're having some of the most, I mean, right here in Atlanta, whether it's the mural on the side of your house, right? Or whether it's this upcoming cop academy, cop building thing that they're trying to build, which I found out I live not far from this proposed site. It's actually one of the selling points when we were getting our house. It was like, oh, there's this whole nature preserve that might be getting redeveloped. Nobody told me it was going to be redeveloped as a cop academy, but I'm learning about it from somebody on Twitter and not my elected, you know, representative, not my city councilwoman, despite them claiming that everyone in the community wants this. Nobody in the community knows about this. So we actually have to be like engaged. And I submit that if folks want to opt out of like federal electoral politics, I'm not going to fight with you. right? But I really do think more of us need to figure out how do we shift and engage at the city and county level, because this is where we're talking about issues with policing. This is where, and to some extent, the state, when the states are passing laws that will preempt local change, right? Like we need to be present in those coalitions, like whether or not we're actively engaged electorally, at least in terms of the coalitions and the power building that may work around shifting legislative and impacts. That's where we need to be in those conversations in particular.
Yeah, because it feels like, we as an organization, we being the community movement builders, we've stayed out of the civic engagement space for a number of years and tried to work strictly on what we saw as sort of grassroots issues and so forth. And I think over the last 7 or 8 months, we've slowly sort of crept into the idea that we have to be more involved in the civic engagement for the very reasons that you just mentioned, because folks will pass things and you will not know it, even though they're telling you there's public commentary and there's this and there's this. Unless somehow you figure out what they're doing before they start doing it, you're always going to be behind the 8 ball in terms of trying to stop it or change it or all that kind of stuff. And again, these are real world issues that have impacts on everybody's lives. And that Cop City idea is just one of them.
I'm about to say another example. News just broke, or in the past couple of days, by I think the Chicago CBS affiliate, that the Shot Spotter. They have this software that like uses audio microphones and stuff that picks up gun shots allegedly and will report it to the police so they can dispatch folks, right? And it has glaring errors. There's been all these studies. Folks have been actively organizing for about 2 months or so to try and get the contract terminated, because per public knowledge, the contract was supposed to end this month. Apparently, it comes out that the CPD, Chicago Police Department, went ahead and quietly renewed the contract through 2023 with no public input, no public contact. In fact, people have been trying to get a specific answer. Even aldermen in the city of Chicago were trying to get an answer about when this contract was supposed to be renewed or what that process was. And they were like, oh, we don't know, nothing, And it turns out they did it in a secret. And so these are the types of mechanisms. And I think some of the change that happened in Chicago, like there was a slate of aldermen who kind of went in together, and they have been trying. I think looking at, like you were talking about slates, I think in terms of Congress, it's a little bit more difficult. But when we're talking about our city councils, I think running slates, having people go in slates and things of that nature, I think that is a very different conversation that we can definitely look at and see. And it's really important because it's actively impacting how our communities are being, decisions are being made, resources are being doled out, et cetera. Whether or not people are getting tickets for murals as graffiti, right? I mean, these are very real issues happening, and it requires our attention and input.
So you mentioned to me when we were setting up the interview around something around Black Reconstruction. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to sort of peel that out a little bit, that either you're coming from either a summit or a retreat that's sort of talking about a strategy related to that. So could you clarify what that was about or what you were talking about?
Yeah, so just real quickly, was recently invited to sit on a panel at the American Sociological Association conversation around like Du Bois, around Black Reconstruction, souls of Black folks and Africana. And I was asked to come in as a journalist who engages in political commentary and follows electoral politics. One of the things that was really interesting in reading through select chapters of not Souls of Black folks, Black Reconstruction, is really looking at the parallels between the time period of Reconstruction and post-Reconstruction, and even some of the discussion that Du Bois is having about the 20s and 30s and now. Right. And just looking at some of the things around like the history of propaganda, like he has a whole chapter talking about the history of propaganda and the way propaganda was used as a political mechanism, not just the development of the lost cause and the appeasing to white fifis, but like really the way in which it was used as a strategic political tool. We're seeing the same thing happening now with political, social, and health disinformation and the way it's being weaponized, whether it's attacking, the right to vote of Black and other people of color or the democratic process itself, or even with COVID-19, COVID-19 health pandemic, right? And just seeing the way organizations are actively targeting particularly Black and brown communities with misinformation, disinformation, right? So I think another thing he talked about, he had a quote about the 1930s Georgia legislature, which was fascinating. It was something about like, this is the most inept legislature of all time, or something like that. And I was like, it's so wild because that same quote literally could have applied to the past few years with the Georgia legislature. I mean, particularly this past year where we saw them allowing like Giuliani with his COVID infected self giving false testimony, right? Which he's now been in jeopardy of losing his law license in a few places. So, I mean, there are these real parallels in terms of these historical texts like Black Reconstruction that really offer instructive information about how we can be collectively building and moving and making decisions now. I think also there's a lot, I had to write an obituary for Bob Moses, the elder from SNCC who passed away recently in the Algebra Project, and just looking at the way in which SNCC collectively built and did work in Mississippi around voter registration, and just really so much of the work that a lot of the Black-led civic engagement organizations do now is directly comes from the SNCC model in Mississippi and the mindset that people who are actually in these communities, who actually live, breathe, and do this work, they are the ones that we should be listening to and understand. And so I think there's some really good lessons that we can learn that have been discarded. And when you were talking earlier about, you don't really consider yourself a Democrat, I don't. I believe in making use of ballot line access that exists. I do not believe that means I have to sell my soul to a party. I haven't been a registered Democrat, I think, since about 2011 or so, when I left the state that no longer required closed primaries. So, some states are closed primaries. If you want to vote for particular people, you have to choose a party. Once I moved to West Virginia and found out that I could be an unaffiliated voter, I did that and just made sure I pulled the ballot that I need to pull at that time. And here in Georgia, we have primaries. It's kind of an open system, so you don't have to really worry about that as well. So I don't get caught up in that identity aspect of it in terms of party politics. I really look at whether or not, I don't go to party meetings and things of that nature, but I do look at candidates who maybe are, have good politics, who may be talking about something that need that support, because we want things to shift and change. While folks like y'all are building these other alternative systems, we still have this current system right now that's directly impacting our lives. When we're looking at what's happening at these school board meetings, just tons of stuff. If you got kids who are in public school and there are mask mandate debates and these people it's just a lot going on that we can't just abdicate space to these nutcases. So
and one of the things that you mentioned about Bob Moses and the model of SNCC, and we sort of tangentially mentioned SNCC earlier. Even more than the Panthers, I think this SNCC as an organization laid the groundwork for really what it means to work in communities and do like a whole range of different organizational work. So from everything from that civic engagement work to political education through their freedom schools, to creating outside bodies that challenged what was happening electoral, to creating the SNCC itself, which was an outside radical Black space that had alternative politics that brought together Black power. SNCC in some and again, that deep dive into Mississippi politics, SNCC in some ways was that organization that led us to sort of say, like, this is how you organize in communities. You become a part of those communities. You help with folks in terms of like their development, and they help with you in your development in terms of understanding the issues of the day. So shout out to SNCC and so forth. But we got to wrap up. I just wanted to put that in there. You are fantastic, a great organizer. I didn't mention that you are a writer, a podcaster yourself, an organizer. You've been on our show, Renegade Culture. You cursed out the Republican dudes when we had them on, and you're always a fan favorite. So we want to thank you, Noah Changa, for joining us this morning. Peace.
Thanks for having me. Have a good day, y'all.
You too.
Right on.
Yeah.
Always good to hear from her, and important conversation.
Excellent.
And even though there are two cliches that I think she raised that I would like us to bring up at some point, maybe after the ear doctor, and then going forward in our discussion, certainly around the after party and whatnot. But that was a great conversation. Appreciate her. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I try not to look in the chat because I know she for her politics or her engagement is a little bit more mainstream than some of us ourselves are involved in. But I think the idea is that these things are happening now, and so abdicating space, I think, is a real issue of what we do now as we build alternative mechanisms. And so just having that conversation with somebody who's engaged in that space when people like me choose not to be, I think is really important. So yeah.
Agreed.
No doubt.
So I know we're gonna get to the ear doctor real quick and then come back on the other side for some important Black August political prisoner wrap up discussion, get you all ready for Friday. I was gonna say our weekend, but it's anyway.
Don't confuse Kim.
Thank you.
Already confused.
Thank you.
We're gonna get back to a little bit of hip hop real quick break. So let's get to it.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Let's go.
I'm the K-I-N-G, the G-I-M, King Jim the Third, and I am here, just me, Fat and the crew. We're doing it all just for you. We're strong as an ox and tall as a tree. We can ride you so viciously. You throw the high. That's a little break right there. Taking it back to the old school hip hop, showing love to the pioneers. Happy birthday to hip hop. Now let's get back to the Remix Morning Show. Yeah.
Thought you was gonna do some ODB, son.
You said what?
He did kind of, I thought
for sure was gonna be some ODB popping up. You know what I'm saying?
We showing love to the old school right now, baby.
ODB is old school.
He's not. No,
wow,
that's not
Kamal. That's
on,
not
man.
old school.
Well, I mean, he ain't like the originators, but at this stage, he's old school hip hop. Y'all realize that was like 20 years ago, ODB, maybe even 25.
But then, no question, he's not new, but not old school.
Are we really having this debate with somebody
that put 24-year-old? He's an old school rapper, B.
Thank you, ear doctor.
What is he having this debate with somebody that had Cardi B as their top 5?
I did not have her as a top 5.
That's horrible.
Yeah. I catch y'all next week, man. Y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you, Ear Doctor.
Appreciate you, Ear Doctor.
I understand where you're coming from, Kamal. Like, because like it's odd to me as someone who likes rock music, like Pearl Jam is like classic rock now. Like, what? How? Like, how is that even possible? But yes, Wu-Tang, I guess, would be classic rap.
Speaking of Wu-Tang, they lost 2 members of Brooklyn Zoo. They were murdered a couple of days ago. 12 o'clock and Murdoch. You know what I'm saying? 2 members of who happen to be cousins of Old Dirty. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to the Wu family. You know what I mean? And their loss. I don't know if y'all remember 12 o'clock assassin and
only vaguely
Murdoch and these folks, whatever. Brooklyn Zoo in the building. I don't know about Brooklyn Zoo.
You know,
when you step to the Old Dirty Bastard, Brooklyn Zoo.
Well, maybe Kamal is in support of Jamal Bowman. Jamal Bowman has presented something that is going to make hip hop like be formally acknowledged as a culture or as an art form through the Senate. So I don't know who asked Jamal Bowman to do that, because I don't really think that we needed Jamal Bowman to do that, because hip hop and rap are going to get, you know, recognized similar to Juneteenth, regardless if the federal government recognizes it. So, you know, there's that. But I dropped that in the chat, Jared, if you were interested in it. It's not important.
I just showed it. I
just wish he would focus on healthcare. I want him to focus. I want him to focus on fucking hip hop tributes. And that dude is supposed to be like, I guess he's one of these new progressives. Yeah. It's like, yo, do your job. Your job is not on getting hip hop recognized by old white men in the country. That's not your job. You know what I'm saying?
So Kamal, this is exactly these were the 2 points that I made note of in your interview with Anoa that I think speak. This is exactly and why I want to continue that we debate, discuss, advocate the after party concept. The 2 tropes that she returned to, just very quickly. One, she said the thing about radicals don't speak in plain language to the people, and that's something that we don't get right. And I this is something I've been thinking about, struggling with for a long time. I just don't agree with that. I think the bigger issue is that spaces where our arguments would be easily explained and welcomed are shut off to people who have those arguments. So there is no sustained engagement with people on the left in spaces where Black audiences are collected. So you don't hear from the Black left in News One or so many other outlets. So it's not that we don't speak clearly, because whenever we are heard, everybody's like, yeah, of course, that's what we want. It's that we're not allowed into debate. And then lastly, people like entities like Act Blue and other, funders that spend literally billions of dollars to support Democratic Party campaigns occupy through funding a lot of this space in conversation. So that would be one. That's one area. I don't think is.
I think because part of it is that there's already a narrative set that makes the things like what the left says. You have to break through that narrative, and as part of a propaganda model, if someone hears something for the first time, they may not get it all. They may not understand the language, and the key to propaganda is to have people hear it over and over again, so it starts to seep in, or they start to get it, they start to make connections to it. And you're right. So we're not allowed to do it. So maybe, we're not allowed.
But it's not complicated, because if you say we want free health care, no war, and people to have jobs and housing, everybody's like, duh.
Yeah.
And then the second point, and just quickly to the second point that you raised even with Jamal Bowman, is that it's that when Anoa raises this issue of people need to have sustained support for these candidates, otherwise she said, leave them to the wolves. I don't agree with that. The fact that people voted for them, got them elected, that's it. You're now clear. You as a candidate ran on a certain politics, got elected on a certain politics. We shouldn't have to have people constantly outside your door saying, do you remember what you ran on? Do you remember what you promised us? No, you are now a well-paid, well-health cared, provided person who had the support of all of your constituents to get elected. That's it. This whole thing of you have to push me once you've elected me, I think is part of the nonsense that gives them room to go and become treacherous once elected.
With that part, I might disagree with, and I'll shut up, because I think that, again, in this political system, whether or not they are on your side or not, that this is where the sort of the idea of dual power, building outside entities that reinforce that this is what you're there to do, right? And if you don't do it, then you're out, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no leaving you on your own to do anything, because this system is too seductive. There's too much money. There's too much resources that are thrown at you. There's too much other things that people tell you they can get you if you leave that other stuff behind, or if you shift a little bit. So the idea, I mean, that's partly what radical organizing is.
But think about the flip side, though, Kamal. The people, once they're elected, again, they are cushy and taken care of, and all they have to do is stand up for what they've already promised. The people who are oppressed, without health care, getting sent to war, being killed by police, they have to not only go through all of that, but then continue to organize and show up at your door.
Because we live in an oppressive, capitalist, white supremacist system.
Okay.
And so that's why, because it's not a fair playing field where you should have the expectation that just because you voted somebody in, that they're going to do ABC. That has been totally within this particular political system, and maybe in other political systems, but at least here, that's just not the truth about how it works. And so we have to accept a certain reality of that in a corrupt political system, as we're building to even overthrow it, if there's things that we need within it as we do so, that's going to be because we challenge that system and try to make it accountable to our needs. Because there's no way
that the Democratic Party will never allow for progressives to do their thing. It has nothing to do
with. Of course
what
not. I don't. They're never going to let us do our thing. But that's why.
But I'm saying. Okay, I'll stop there. Go ahead.
No. Aside from that, the whole speak clearly shit, that's kind of condescending because of the fact that you're going to tell oppressed people that they don't know how to voice their gripes. They don't know how to tell motherfucker that they are against oppression as a whole. Like you said, the shit is clear. Free healthcare. We want freedom for our political prisoners. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to eat. You know what I mean? We're trying to survive out this motherfucker. So I think that the whole Democratic Party election treadmill got folks fucked up because of the fact it's like we're running in place really fast and going nowhere. And to me, we have to revisit Fanon because of the fact that we like to quote a lot of these revolutionaries, but it's like it's just a quote, and then let's go back to this shit over here. You know what I mean? Nobody told Fannie Lou Hamer that she wasn't speaking clearly enough. You know what I mean? Fannie
Lou Hamer also wasn't necessarily talking about political prisoners and Fanon and so forth.
But I'm not saying that. Hold on, man.
I'm going to let you finish. But we also have to think about who the messenger.
But I'm not talking.
I think what she's saying is that who is giving the message.
I didn't even cut you off. Like you cut me off like I ain't saying.
Well, I just want to explain. I'll let you finish.
Okay, go ahead. Explain it to me so I can understand it.
I will. So she's not talking about the oppressed people themselves. She's talking about the left, as in the people who claim to be speaking for the oppressed or giving ideas out for the oppressed, and whether or not that language is reaching those people. And I think that's what she was saying. So she wasn't being condescending to the oppressed. She was saying that when the left uses language that people who have not heard that language before don't clearly understand or have never heard before, it's up to the left to clarify, to be direct, to make sure that people understand.
Okay,
which is
I got all that. I got all that.
Good.
Thank you for clarifying what I already
You're
had.
so welcome. You're so welcome.
No, what I'm saying to you, sir, is where I'm from, the left are the oppressed. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what the fuck I'm saying. So we're clear about where we're coming from. I think the problem is here that everybody's looking at shit through their own lenses. You know what I mean? So I don't think the Democratic Party and no one else can speak for oppressed people outside of those people who are oppressed. The problem is we have so many people who come with an elitist attitude and we say, look, I've been educated by these oppressors. So now I could put this shit, I could package it nice enough so that the oppressors can accept what the fuck I'm saying. I'm saying, in the words of Kim Brown, ultimately we have to burn this shit down. And that's the reality of it. So we can keep playing treadmill, running up and down the court all we want to, acting like we're going to score, and we're not going to win this fucking game. That's the reality of it, man.
I just want to say again that my argument is what I think negates and makes moot this beef you all two represent that I think that I think is replicated unnecessarily too often in our communities. This is not an issue of whether people are bougie and able to communicate or whether people are too ill-educated or incapable of understanding. The issue is when the message is allowed, all of our radical leaders have been very clear and well understood by everyone. It's that those arguments are prevented from being allowed into the public sphere where most of our people are. So that's the point I was trying to make, and that I would think is important to return to, and why what we're doing here with BPM is so important. Because you will hear not only from Anoa, which I think is an important perspective, but you'll hear from her left as well, which is a perspective that is never included in those other spaces. That's the point. I think anyway. I'll stop.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that's about the propaganda model that is set up to not allow left voices to day reach a multitude of people, right? And I think that's because we don't control the media, we don't control newspapers, and whether we like it or not, that's how most people get their information. So I do think there are times when people access things from like if we say no war, right? People's reactions become that there's terrorists out there, and that's because that's what they get from mainstream media, and so that has to be overcome.
I mean, listen, the most left voices that our people get are Don Lemon, Joy Reid, who else? Angela Rye. Like that is who the majority of our people are consuming when it comes to their media or their information or their news. Roland Martin. I mean, they're not coming here yet. They're starting to come here, but it's a problem when Joy Reid is the most radical voice on television, or Don Lemon is the most radical voice on television. People are going to only get half of the picture, not even half of the picture, a fraction of the picture, and not even have the understanding of what is actually possible when it comes to policy, when it comes to movements and activism, because it's not being presented to them, and it won't be on CNN or MSNBC ever.
Yeah, excuse my ignorance, but what politician have we held accountable? Have we as a people held accountable? You know what I'm saying? It's this shit is game. It's pure game, and it's like we're playing in this. We're saying we're against a particular system, but then we're saying, okay, well, we got to play by these rules. How do you play by the rules that are stacked against you, but yet you intend on winning? It's like 3-card Monte. It's like you know what I mean. You're not going to win the fucking P game. That's why it is what it is. It's going to look like you're going to win because of the fact they're going to say, okay, well, let's put Kamala Harris in office. Let's put Cory Booker in office. Let's put the other Cory in office. Whatever the hell. Once you jump inside that cesspool, you're going to smell like shit. And that's just how it goes. You can throw whatever kind of suit you want to on, and that's what it's going to be. So ultimately, we have to decide, what does revolution mean? What is revolution?
I just said, I've heard you yourself talk about local politics are important, and it's important to hold folks accountable.
Yes,
I think that's so I think that's partly also what this conversation is including and or about. So whether or not we, again, as we plot and plan for revolution, radical change, similar to you, I do that day and night, we still understand that there are these bodies that have control over massive resources, that have control over police departments, that have control over healthcare. And those bodies need to understand that people are not only watching, but challenging them on what they do as we plan for what we call sometimes dual power. So a lot of times the idea of revolution is about taking state power, overthrowing state power, but also creating independent institutions that you don't have to rely on the state, because the state itself is mostly going to be corrupt. And so I don't think there's necessarily a contradiction there in terms of how we fight the system. I think there's a clear understanding that the politicians and the elected officials are corrupt, but also I think what I agree with in terms of what she said was advocating that space to allow these folks who have this massive amount of resources and the ability to come down on us when we're not as organized or have a critical mass of support that we need, is something that we need to figure out and do more about.
Yeah, and shout out to Anoa for her work. You know what I'm saying? This isn't a personal attack on her. I'm just saying, okay, boom, we're playing football. Some of us are playing two-hand touch, and others are playing tackle, and that's the reality of it. Electoral politics is two-hand touch. So,
we all watched the Renegade Culture episode come out that you made reference to. So we all know Anoa is not at all, you know, she has no problem handling a little bit of disagreement, a little bit of you know, that's it. Just disagreement.
Yeah, and it's not a personal attack towards her. I'm talking about,
and if anything, I'm scared of her. So, but shout out to her for her work and for hosting that conversation. And I know we're going to, in many ways, be continuing these conversations tomorrow morning. when I'm back holding it down for the Remix crew and having a conversation with at least Dr. Andre Brock about his book, Distributed Blackness, the digital media environment and Black engagement in that environment. And I think we have a friendly disagreement on this issue. So it's going to be, I've been looking forward to this for a long time. But we'll also come back to some of these political conversations as well. And I know Kim Brown, in your own way, or maybe even, I don't know exactly what you have planned, you might be doing this directly on your show tomorrow.
Well, I mean, I'm definitely going to be taking a look at this $100,000 cops. Money allocated to hire 100,000 police. I mean, Joe Biden must be waking up on cloud nine. I mean, it is the realization of his life's work as a senator to make sure that America continues to be a police state and that Black communities are heavily and over policed. So I know Joe Biden is so happy right now. So we're going to be talking.
He must be smoking that stuff that he fires his own staffers for smoking.
I mean, dog, like
JoJo.
He asked for a double up on the Botox. Hit me here and here this morning. Okay. Yeah. So I'm definitely going to be talking about that. And I'm so sorry. Let me apologize to my viewers in advance. We will be making fun of Cory Booker again. And I'm so sorry. Y'all going to have to listen to that whole Cory Booker, Coonan, exuberance speech that he just gave on the floor of the Senate. So, yeah.
Did you say Cory Busher?
I meant to say Cooney Booker.
Cooney Booker.
Oh,
okay.
Nice.
Hard right there.
Hey, we didn't get to the speaking of funny names. I forgot to even. Did you? I know we out of here, but did you all see that Shaun King is apparently raising money to help him move after his house got exposed and all that? So he's now using a crowdfunding to help his family move from.
So not only is he using the money he made and pays himself off of claiming to help support victims of police brutality and ending police violence to afford an $800,000 house. But now when the I guess the address of it was revealed in pictures, his new claim is that his family's safety is at risk and he can't live there.
His daughter wrote a letter.
Yeah. But he can't pay for his own move. He can pay for an $800,000 house, but he can't pay for his own move. He's got to raise more money. It's crazy.
Mean, hey, that is a grift of these upper echelon Negroes, like, because the Mosbys in Baltimore, shout out to everybody in Baltimore, the state's attorney, Marilyn Mosby, and her husband, who is the president of the city council, Nick Mosby, have started, no bullshit, a legal fund that they are asking people to donate to because they are under federal investigation for some fuckery. And they earn very nice salaries and they own 2 homes and they have the tax base. Thank you. Right. And they're asking for people to donate to their legal fund. The audacity of these hoes.
Hey, I want to just mention real briefly, and we'll get on this story next week. Georgia lawmakers, I just got this article. Shout out to my sister Black Sis, who's a member of the organization and a dope poet. She sent me this piece about state lawmakers being barred from touring Arendelle Prison. Arendelle is a women's facility. They said that there's been over 34 statewide deaths. There's been a spike in homicides and suicides, and the actual prison itself is there's been talks of inhumane conditions and treatment, so on and so forth. And they've just denied 7 lawmakers the right to enter this prison on yesterday. So we need to definitely jump on this particular case. We'll talk more about it. I'm going to investigate it and come back to you all on Tuesday. It's a lot of shit that's going on in these prisons. And I think that oftentimes we're shouting out political prisoners and we're shouting out prisoners, but we're really not clear on the conditions and the treatment of many of these brothers and sisters outside of the political prisons, because the political prisons, of course, that's A1. But on the flip side, there are many people who are either innocent or going in on bogus charges or whatever. So we definitely want to talk about this criminal enterprise. Also, tomorrow we got a lot going on. What's going on Friday morning, Jared Ball?
Like I said, I Mix What I Like live, 8 a.m. Dr. Brock. We're going to get Brother Kaba is going to be back through. We might be hearing from Shupavu Wakarima on Kevin Rashid Johnson update. So there's a number of other things up in the air but distributed blackness will be the centerpiece. And from my point of view, again, what does digital media mean for Black people? And I, I think we're gonna have a little loving disagreement tomorrow morning. So yeah. Anyway, but a lot more coming up. So and please go check all the other stuff that's on our channels. And all these shows. There's a lot of great content that's been coming. I'm not even all the way caught up, and revisit some things obviously that deserve revisiting, and enjoy your weekend.
And guys,
and again, we'll be live 8 p.m. tomorrow. Riot Started TV, dealing with Black August. Mama Ayana will be on. We'll be going deeper into the history of Black August, and also on Saturday, do not forget that Warrior class will be taking place at 1 p.m. on Saturday, and of course Sundays on Sundays. Yeah.
Yes.
And Kim, you were going to say something. Yes, sorry.
Well, first of all, you got to tune in to Sundays because Ear Doctor be rocking like shit. Okay, but also don't forget, guys, head on over to Burn It Down with Kim Brown and subscribe to my channel. I think we're only like 10 or so subscribers short of like 2,100. So I'm trying to hit this little milestone. So head on over to the channel, Burn It Down with Kim Brown. Hit subscribe for me, and we will see y'all there tomorrow at 5 o'clock.
Right.
Yes. Remix on the show. PM.